We celebrate today, everybody, the feast day of Saint Paul Miki and companions. And Paul Miki is the guy who gets named, but really what we're celebrating is all the martyrs of Japan. That's what we're talking about. Most of the martyrs of Japan were not Japanese. They were Dutch. Some of the first priests, actually, to make it to Japan were Dutch. The Portuguese came later. There was some Spanish. The historical record kind of indicates the Spanish messed it all up there, but that's another story. They were Franciscans, you know what I mean? So, Franciscan parish here, kind of, you know what I mean? But anyway, most of the missionaries that came, I guess by definition, a missionary is not from where they go. But regardless, a lot of foreigners. Paul Miki, however, was a native-born Japanese. And Father Tim and I were talking about this. We don't think he was a priest, actually. Wikipedia told us, which is actually a very reliable source on the lives of the saints, because it just has the Catholic encyclopedia is reprinted there. But it says that he was an evangelist. So not sure what that means exactly, catechist. But anyway, a good layman. Well, anyway, when Christianity shows up there in Japan, I lived there for several years, so I've got a firsthand experience of this. When Christianity shows up in Japan, the Japanese are just absolutely confused by it. You know, because there's concepts in Christianity that in the Japanese world they don't have. For example, the intrinsic dignity of the human person. The Japanese do not believe in that. You know, there are certain people that are born into a lesser class of human beings, and that's all there is to it, you know? And you don't have to treat lower class people with respect, and they're disposable. You know, the medieval Japanese used people of the lower classes to build their cities and their castles and didn't care if they died. Yeah, that's kind of what it was about. Do the modern day Japanese believe that way still? Probably. You know, I mean, I didn't see, like groups of slaves building castles when I was over there, but I can't believe that it's much different. But here you have these Christian missionaries saying, no, you can't treat anybody like that. Turns out every human being represents a unique thought of God, okay? And no one is here by accident, and everyone has to be treated with dignity. In Japan, they have all kinds of legal abortion. You know, it's not considered a problem in any way. It's wild how they have that over there. Though, you know what they don't do is they don't euphemize it. The Japanese acknowledge that abortion is actually killing a child, but they think it's okay to do. You know, a lot like Bill Maher. But anyway, so interesting stuff about that. Well, so the missionaries show up there and they start preaching the gospel, and the Japanese are amazed by it, and at first they think this is stupid. Why in the world would we listen to this? But, a lot of Japanese people became convinced and convicted that, gosh, maybe this is a better way to live. Maybe we could treat people better. What if my existence was already thought about by God? What if there is an eternal power that loves me? That's pretty good. That's way better than, whatever the local religion of Japan is, and it kind of depends on where you're from, what that religion is, A lot of it's imported from China anyway. So, especially in the south of Japan, Christianity starts to take off, and it grows and it grows and it grows, until it grew so far that some of the Japanese feudal lords decided that it's growing too much, and Christianity is so different from the way that we live our lives that it's gonna change irrevocably our life, our society, and our national understanding. And it would have done that. They were correct about that. So they said, well, we're just going to have to just get rid of the missionaries. That's what we're going to do. And they did to great effect. And these different people that we celebrate today, Paul Miki and companions, were martyred at different times, in the history of Catholics in Japan. But we celebrate them all on one feast day, and there's these 26, and they celebrate the 26 martyrs of Japan, and there's a shrine built to them in Nagasaki. They were killed in these horrible ways, which I won't go into, but suffice it to say that the Japanese love these hot springs. That's a big thing in Japan. Onsen, if you've ever been to one of those, it's a super fun thing to go and do. It's not a super fun thing when there are like thousands of degrees and you get pushed into them by people who are there to kill you. That's how a lot of these martyrs died. Anyway, today, Christianity in Japan has not recovered from that. And it was never able to really come back because after the missionaries were killed and Christianity was outlawed in Japan, the entire country goes dark, And what do you call the guy? The shogun of Japan says, we're not doing outside trade with anybody anymore. Yeah, that's it. No Westerners are coming back here. And for hundreds of years after, no Europeans set foot on the island, because they were so scared about it. And still today, Christianity is a totally minority religion in that land, And the reason is, it was so good, and it was such a good thing that people's hearts were captivated by it. Even these completely, people who lived a completely and totally different kind of a way of life were captivated by Christianity, and they were so captivated that to get rid of it, they had to close off their entire country. And they had to lose all kinds of profits from trading in silk and other things to do it. That's how convicting the gospel was to the people of Japan, okay? And even today, the priests that you find in Japan are from other places. Very few Japanese priests today. So anyway, I guess what we're really celebrating is, some brave men and women, mostly men actually in this case, but some brave people that were decided they would sail across unknown waters to bring the gospel to this foreign land, land of the rising sun. But really what we're celebrating is how convicting the gospel is. That's what we're celebrating today. The most dangerous book ever written is the gospel. And Bill Maher also says that. He doesn't mean it the way I mean. The most dangerous book ever written is the gospel because if you take it seriously, it's going to change your life completely. It will change your life completely. It will change the way that you look at the world and all of your relationships and everything else. And if you're not ready for that, that's a scary, terrifying thing, But the reality is, if any of us, any human being, or any civil society that's made up of human beings, if you let the gospel have the chance to remake you, to remake your community, your parish, your church, your country, great things are going to happen. Prosperity will increase. That's not why we do it, but it will. People will love each other and they'll interact in a more civil way, and things take off. And if you're not ready for that to happen, it's going to be martyrdom. That's the way it goes. It's the way it always has gone. And these men, some of them native sons of Japan, some of them from other places, show us today what can happen if you let the Word of God do what the Word of God wants to do.